Alright, let's open the right page. Number 6. Project Stargate. In 1972, the CIA launched a classified research program at Stanford Research Institute in Menlo Park, California, with a single operational question at its center. Could the human mind perceive information about locations it had no physical access to? The program evolved through multiple iterations, operating under several names at different facilities. SRI, then Science Applications International Corporation, then Fort Meade, Maryland, before being consolidated and finally declassified in 1995 under the umbrella name Stargate. For over 2 decades, operatives classified as remote viewers were given sealed envelopes containing geographic coordinates or photographs of undisclosed locations and asked to describe what was there without opening the envelopes without prior briefing and without any conventional access to the information. The sessions were recorded, rated by independent analysts using a standardized scoring rubric, and compiled into a statistical database. In 1995, the CIA commissioned an independent review of the accumulated data from the American Institutes for Research, a peer-reviewed social science research organization. The review panel, which included statistician Jessica Utz and skeptic Ray Hyman, agreed on a statistically significant finding. The experimental data showed results above chance probability that could not be attributed to normal statistical variation. Utz concluded the evidence supported the existence of a real anomalous phenomenon. Hyman disagreed on interpretation but agreed the statistical anomaly was real. The same year the review was completed, the program was terminated. Number 5. The Longyou Caves. In June 1992, a farmer in Longyou County, Zhejiang Province, eastern China, decided to drain a pond on his property that he suspected was unusually deep. The pump ran for 17 continuous days. When the water level finally dropped below the original floor line, there was no pond bed. There was a carved stone ceiling. What the farmer found beneath the water was a vast underground chamber, its ceiling soaring above a sculpted interior space of extraordinary scale. Archaeologists arrived within days. The surrounding ponds, there were more of them, and they were all connected, were systematically drained over the following months. 24 separate chambers emerged from beneath the water table, carved entirely from the local red sandstone bedrock. The largest of the chambers spans 1,200 square meters of floor area, with ceiling heights reaching 30 meters, supported by stone pillars left standing during excavation to prevent collapse. Every exposed surface of every chamber, walls, ceilings, pillars, floors, carries the same decorative treatment. Parallel chiseled lines executed at a consistent 60-degree angle to the horizontal with uniform spacing, applied across thousands of square meters of carved rock with a precision that suggests the pattern was a deliberate design requirement rather than an incidental tool mark. The estimated volume of rock removed to create all 24 chambers is approximately 1 million cubic meters of sandstone. That stone has not been located anywhere in the surrounding region. No debris field, no fill deposits, no secondary use of the material in known structures nearby. The chambers had been sealed by flooding at some undetermined historical point and remained completely invisible until 1992. Number 4. Operation Sea Spray. Between 1949 and 1969, the United States military conducted at least 239 classified open-air biological and chemical tests on domestic soil, exposing civilian populations to aerosolized agents without consent, notification, or any public disclosure. The tests were part of a broader program to assess the vulnerability of American cities to biological warfare attack and to develop dispersal methods for offensive use. One of the earliest and largest operations took place in September 1950 when a U.S. Navy minesweeper cruised slowly along the coast of San Francisco Bay and released a continuous aerosol of Serratia marcescens bacteria into the marine fog moving on shore. Monitoring stations positioned throughout the city confirmed that the bacterial cloud penetrated deeply into the urban area. The Navy estimated that virtually the entire population of San Francisco, approximately 800,000 people, inhaled the aerosolized bacteria during the operation. Within days, 11 patients presented at Stanford Hospital with unusual infections caused by Serratia marcescens, a bacterium so rarely associated with serious human illness at that time that most hospitals had never cultured it. One patient died of a cardiac infection caused by the organism. The Navy maintained for decades that the tests were medically safe and entirely unrelated to the hospital cases, characterizing Serratia marcescens as a benign environmental organism used only as a tracer. The program remained classified until 1977 when a Senate subcommittee investigating government activities in the domestic surveillance sphere uncovered documentation of the testing program. The subcommittee's review revealed the full scope 239 tests conducted over 19 years across multiple American cities including Minneapolis, St. No. 3, the Vela incident, On September 27, 1979, at approximately 3 the morning local time, an American Vela satellite, one of a series placed in high geosynchronous orbit specifically to detect nuclear detonations anywhere on Earth, registered a distinctive double flash signature over a remote stretch of ocean between the southern tip of Africa and Antarctica. The double flash pattern, a brief, extraordinarily intense spike of light lasting milliseconds followed by a longer, brighter secondary pulse, is the unmistakable optical fingerprint of a nuclear weapon detonating in the atmosphere. No other known natural or industrial phenomenon produces that specific temporal signature. A presidential interagency review panel was convened. The panel's report, delivered in 1980, concluded tentatively that the event was probably not a nuclear explosion and possibly the result of a sensor malfunction caused by a small meteorite striking the satellite. A separate classified assessment by the Defense Intelligence Agency reached the opposite conclusion. With high confidence, nuclear detonation yield approximately 3 kilotons, most likely a low-altitude atmospheric test. The supporting evidence for the nuclear interpretation continued to accumulate over subsequent months. Acoustic monitoring stations in the southern hemisphere, hydrophone arrays originally deployed to track submarine movements, detected a signal consistent with a low-yield atmospheric detonation approximately 10 hours after the flash, at a location consistent with the Vela satellite's recorded coordinates. Sheep in Australia and New Zealand showed elevated thyroid iodine levels in monitoring tests conducted in the weeks following the event, consistent with exposure to radioactive fallout. The optical detection was real. Number 2. The WOW signal. On August 15, 1977, a volunteer radio astronomer named Jerry Emmon was working a routine data review session at Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope, scanning columns of alphanumeric printout representing signal intensity across frequency channels over time. He found a sequence that stopped him. 6 characters printed in a vertical column as the telescope's field of view swept past a point in the sky, 6EQJ5. In the coding system used by Big Ear, the number 6 represented the highest intensity routinely expected from terrestrial radio frequency interference. The letters represented intensities above that baseline. Q corresponded to a signal approximately 26 times louder than the ambient background noise of deep space. Emmon circled the sequence in red ink and wrote one word in the margin: WOW. The signal lasted exactly 72 seconds, the precise duration that Big Ear could observe any fixed point in the sky as Earth's rotation carried the telescope's beam past it. It originated from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, approximately 25 degrees south of the 5th magnitude star Chi Sagittarii. It was broadcast at 1420 MHz, the emission frequency of neutral hydrogen atoms. The frequency theoreticians had specifically proposed decades earlier as the most logical choice for an interstellar communication signal, because any technologically capable civilization would know that hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe and would recognize the 1420 MHz band as a universal reference. The signal matched the predicted characteristics of an extraterrestrial broadcast more closely than any signal ever detected before or since. Dozens of follow-up observations targeting the same sky coordinates over the following decades found nothing. Number 1. The heliosphere anomaly. In August 2012, after 35 years of travel, Voyager 1 crossed the heliopause, the boundary where the outward pressure of the sun's solar wind becomes too weak to hold back the interstellar medium, the thin gas that fills the space between stars. Scientists had been building models of this boundary for decades, using indirect measurements from the Pioneer probes and from Voyager itself, and the crossing was anticipated as a definitive test of those models. The data that came back from Voyager 1 as it transitioned into interstellar space was wrong in several ways simultaneously. The magnetic field direction at the heliopause did not align with the direction predicted by models of the local interstellar medium. The plasma density immediately outside the boundary was substantially higher than any heliospheric model had predicted. The intensity and energy distribution of cosmic rays in the transition zone described a structure that the standard models had no theoretical framework to accommodate. Theorists revised their models. The deeper inconsistency persisted. The interstellar medium immediately surrounding our solar system appears to be in a state that the known stellar activity in our galactic neighborhood cannot fully explain. Research published in the journal Nature Astronomy and other journals over the following decade developed the hypothesis that has gained traction. Our solar system is currently passing through the remnant of an ancient supernova explosion that occurred somewhere in our galactic neighborhood between 2 and 3 million years ago. A bubble of compressed, superheated interstellar gas still propagating outward from the ancient blast, actively interacting with and reshaping our heliosphere. That's it for today. Subscribe for more, smash the like button, and drop a comment with your thoughts. I read every single one. Peace.